It is such a joy to gather here today as we celebrate the legacy of the Christmas tree shops, a place that holds a very special place in the hearts of so many of us. This isn't just about a store, it's about cherished memories. It's about that familiar sense of excitement we felt stepping through the doors, the thrill of discovering something unique, and the simple joy of sharing those moments with the ones we love. Whether it was a family outing, a stop on the way to the Cape, or a treasure hunt with friends, the Christmas tree shop became more than a destination, it became a tradition. Today, we are especially honored to have the incredible Mrs. Bilazekian with us. Didn't just create a retail icon, they created a place filled with warmth, charm, and the magic of possibility at every season. On behalf of everyone here, thank you for creating cherished memories and for continuing to make a lasting impact on our community on Cape Cod through your philanthropy. I also have the privilege to introduce a truly remarkable person who embodies the same spirit of community and storytelling. Anthony Sammarco, a beloved author, historian, and the incoming president of our board, is someone who understands the importance of preserving and celebrating the legacies that shape us. Through his work, Anthony captures the essence of places and people in the way that makes us all feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. So I now turn the program over to Anthony.
I want to thank you all for coming this evening. This is a book that was really a joy. When Mrs. Bilazekian had asked me to write it, I thought, what a wonderful way to chronicle something that only about a year ago had actually gone out of our existence. I want to thank Mrs. Bilazekian, or Mrs. B, as she's finally asked me to call her, Cindy Cotton, as well as the staff of the library. And in this instance, many people had actually not only loaned their memories and books, but the whole aspect is this is truly a shared memory. We'll see here the cover of the book, The Christmas Tree Shop, says, "Don't you just love a bargain?" Many years ago, when I had my first apartment in Boston, I used to hear this tune when it was on television commercials. And I would always think sometimes, well, I will be there in November. I never came out of there without a cartload. The whole aspect was the Christmas tree shop, which started here on Cape Cod, had become a tradition for many people. And in this instance, we realized that it's not only that, but it's something that actually took a second step from the fact of what was the Christmas tree shop. We know it as the Christmas tree shops. But seen here is the Christmas tree shop with no S that was actually founded in 1946 by Charles and Alice Matthews. They were from New York and they moved to Cape Cod, actually starting the Christmas tree shop at the corner of Route 6A and Willow Street in Yarmouthport. This was not only a place where they actually said Merry Christmas when you entered the store, but it included two smaller shops, the Wayside shop run by Catherine Gourley and Lavinia's Window run by Gladys Beasley. And both shops were considered antique and curio shops. The Christmas tree shop had everything from Christmas themed items such as decorations, ornaments, and small gifts. And the Matthews opened the shop on Memorial Day and would close after Labor Day. And as the Massachusetts blue laws did not allow business on Sundays, it was a struggle. The business went bankrupt in 1961 and was bought at auction by Don Winner. He continued operation of the shop until 1970. And seen here in a postcard of that building, it was something that was more than just a curiosity. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and his associates were on the roof parapet, and Santa Claus, and everything imaginable in front of the lawn. But this was something in some ways that would actually become the Christmas tree shops with an S. The aspect is, one of the chapters is, do you want to buy a business? Well, Chuck and Doreen Bilazekian started a store in 1970 that would eventually expand to 23 stores throughout New England and New York by 2003. The Christmas tree shops expanded in areas that had not only a large population, but where many people were already aware and shopped at them on Cape Cod. In 1970, the story of the Christmas tree shops began when they traveled for a July 4th vacation on Cape Cod. While there, Chuck had planned to meet with Don Winter of Yarmouthport to try to sell excess inventory from the Cambridge Coffee, Tea, and Spice House where he worked. Winter owned the Christmas tree shop, which he had bought in 1961 at auction after the Matthews declared bankruptcy. The store was in the closeout business, buying overstock items at low cost and selling them at bargains. After meeting with Chuck, Winter casually asked, "Do you want to buy a business?" Well, Chuck and Doreen thought it over, and it seemed not only feasible, but exciting. It was something they could do together. And in early September 1970, they made a $10,000 down payment that included money from credit cards, and they became the owners of the Christmas tree shop. The move to Yarmouthport came a month later, and Doreen said, "Our introduction to the retail business was trying to dispose of the merchandise that came with the business at the time of the purchase." Well, in that way, within a year or two, publications in some ways would actually have advertisements such as this. The Christmas tree shops, now with an S, Route 6A and Willow Street in Yarmouthport. And we saw not only the front shop, but the back shop. And it was something that offered everything from Christmas cards and decorations, English bone china, silver, stainless steel, crystal, music boxes, stationery, jams and jellies, candles, soap, toys, furniture, and wall decor, all at half the usual price. Well, this became something that was really quite an attraction. And here, Chuck Bilazikian, sporting a pipe with his dog Pooch, is seen at the Christmas tree shop at Yarmouthport in the early 1970s. The Christmas tree shop was offering bargain household items by buying discontinued items from manufacturers and other discounted products that would in turn be sold at the store at a bargain. It didn't matter what it was, but it was something that was always of quality that could actually be thought of as a bargain. Some things included this, a display of Lilas soliflor vases. These were actually French crystal, and they were $3.99. Lilas is French for lilac, and soliflor is French for a vase designed to hold a single flower. Well, these, along with the 4-inch salad bowls for 39 cents or 3 for $1, was a great bargain. And one could actually decorate their homes or summer houses in such a way that it was really quite fun. Well, everyone thinks that the Christmas tree shops was Christmassy. Well, it did have Christmas themed items. And seen here was a tree in one of the early stores. And on this tree, it had a sign that said, "North Pole's finest candy canes, sweet tasting treat." Well, often even Mrs. Claus would arrive at the store in Mrs. Yarmouthport, where she would sit on a dais along with a stuffed animal, and children would come and tell her to tell her husband what they wanted for Christmas. In this instance, it was not only a destination, but it was something that many people came to actually enjoy shopping in. Well, the Christmas tree shops advertised that shopping at the stores was literally a bargain for all seasons, which was the initial trademark name. The stores would have become open year-round in the early 1970s, which had a huge impact on sales. And this advertisement says savings of up to 50% or more off fine stores' prices, first quality merchandise. So it wasn't just a bargain for all seasons, it was year-round. But on the upper portion, we see that at this point, there were 8 locations: Hyannis, West Yarmouth, Yarmouthport, Sagamore, West Dennis, Orleans, Falmouth, and the only one off Cape at that time, Pembroke. During this period, the expansion was tremendous, and each one would actually in some ways offer things at not just a bargain, but things that couldn't be obtained elsewhere. By the latter part of the 1970s and early 1980s, there would be newspaper advertisements, and this was a supplement to not only the Patriot Ledger, but also the Cape Cod Sunday Times and the Enterprise, and would feasibly reach over 250,000 readers. The Christmas tree shops not only celebrated value, but it was first quality merchandise at savings of 50% or more. Well, as you see on the left-hand side, this supplement said, "Let's celebrate value." Well, Who didn't want a cane rocking chair, a little wooden train, ducks, of course, an umbrella stand, or on the right-hand side, French crystal that was actually at a discount price. Each of these things could make one's home unique. And at the Christmas tree shop, there were not only wonderful things to choose from, but wonderful staff. In this book, I mentioned that the employees were the backbone of the business. And a mission statement was created that actually offered a little direction. It said that the Christmas tree shop strive to be the premier value retailer by offering a unique and exciting shopping experience. We are committed to exceeding our customers' expectations in service, value, and selection. We foster a culture that sponsors growth and career opportunities for our employees in an atmosphere of respect and courtesy. And Christmas Tree Shop's foundation for success is based on retailing excellence and sound fiscal policy. But it wasn't just a mission statement, it was something that the Billazikians and the staff lived by. And it was sound, and in that instance, it went the gamut from people that not only worked in the shops, but as well as driving the delivery truck. When I did this book, Mrs. Billazikian had a wonderful photograph that actually showed this truck. It was a remnant from William Filene and Sons Company in Boston. And it was one of their delivery trucks. But in this instance, it was something that would actually bring freight and wonderful different merchandise from shop to shop. And in that way, it wasn't just these men, but it would also be people such as the flying squad. And the flying squad, which was a composition of both men and women, would help with stocking when new stores were opened. And they would actually work at any store, which eventually became 23, and they would actually arrive in such a way to have a lot of floor plan change. They could ask if the flying squad could come and help. One woman, Joyce Adams, said that the squad offered a chance of moving up with the company, traveling to different stores, meeting new people, and of course, learning new skills, being involved with the beginning of a new venture for Christmas tree shops. This showed that you didn't necessarily have the same job, and if you showed incentive and of course determination, you too could move up. But they also wore smart, and I did remember that after I had seen this photograph. This is a young man named Devon, and it said in some ways that they had blue smocks, green smocks, and red smocks. Well, I'm not going to read them all, but to ensure that the backup cashiers are called whenever there are more than 3 people in line. That's for the blue smock. The green to escort the next waiting customer into my line when idle. And the red to smile and greet every customer that I encounter. It didn't matter what the color of your smock was. Many of these people would serve their entire careers with Christmas tree shops, and they were the face of the business. And people came to realize, not only did they enjoy their job, but they excelled in it. But some of the things that we could actually purchase at Christmas tree shop were really quite unique. I want to say that I didn't buy this, but I have a vague suspicion that I did. This was called Cape Cod Air, and it was sold by the Christmas tree shops as a whimsical souvenir for tourists visiting Cape Cod. They were bottles containing genuine Cape Cod air that were made by the Christmas tree shops. And there was also a proviso that as customers were cautioned to avoid contamination by ordinary air, do not remove the cork after crossing the Cape Cod Canal. It may be refilled at any time on Cape Cod. Well, these bottles of air, said to be genuinely fresh from the sea, sold by the boxful. The labels were fixed to the bottles by their sons Gregory and Jeffrey Billazikian, often joined by their neighborhood friends Nan, Beth, Susie, and Jane Johnson, who helped. It was a great sale, but so too wasn't the legend of the pickle. Well, seen here on the left-hand side, this was an entire wall display for $1.99 with a 4-inch pickle ornament. Well, it said, to start a tradition that will surely last, here's a short story about a pickle of glass. The night before Christmas, it's hung on the tree while everyone's sleeping. It's done secretly. And on Christmas morning, when you arise, the first one who finds it will get a surprise. A family tradition for all to share. You'll look for the pickle year after year. I don't know anyone who ever did this, but the whole concept was, the pickle was quite interesting, maybe not as interesting as the Cape Cod Air. But there was also Santa's magic Christmas dust. And as you see on the left-hand side, Santa arrived with 9 hungry reindeer. Well, it said to all good girls and boys, please take this packet on Christmas Eve and sprinkle on the lawn or on the roof. The glitter will shine in the moonlight and help me see your house. And the oats will help my reindeer find their way to your home. They love the smell of oats, and if they are hungry, they can have a quick snack. It said, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Well, it sold. And in this instance, Christmas dust was something that every child had to have leaving the Christmas tree shops. Well, by the period of the 1980s, there were many things that were a traditional standby. And one of them was this wonderful display of yarn. Many of us actually knit. And knitting is something that not only provides something that's usable, but it's something that's unique. Well, for the knitters on Cape Cod, these wire display bins have Lion brand yarn priced at $1.99 per skein. Lion brand yarn has been on the market since 1878, when the company was founded by Reuben Blumenthal in New York. The Lion brand yarn company is today a 5th generation family-owned business that has long offered different types of yarn. And some of the most popular yarns are homespun, thick and quick, fun fur, Vanna's Choice, and wool ease. So one would look at Christmas tree shop and realize that there was a variety of things for every season, including the summer season for tourists. Seen here on a display, there are huge zinc tubs that say Cape Cod, not only with the arm of Cape Cod, but an art. Realizing in this instance, there are not only whales and stuffed animals and red lobsters, it also had taffy, which again, no one who eats taffy. But in this way, it was something that would sell and of course be a great attraction for gifts for family and friends. But there was also that one display that had 3-foot tall lighthouses. Of course, they weren't necessary, you didn't need them, but it seemed like many a Cape Cod house would have a lighted lighthouse on their front lawn in the summer months. Each of these things were unique, and until you got to the Christmas tree shop, you never knew that you needed it. Well, in that instance, children loved it as well. And many tourists, as well as Cape Cod residents, stopped at the Christmas tree shops to pick up essentials for their vacation on Cape Cod. In addition to snacks, candy, paper plates, and napkins, a beach chair was a necessity to relax on the beach and get some sun as one stared at the ocean and the far-off horizon. These children can have all sorts of things, from buckets and shovels, as well as these boards which they would use in the ocean. People loved it. But seen here, during the fall season, Christmas tree shop was as busy as it was during the summer. There were all sorts of different pumpkin renditions, gourds, scarecrows, and of course, wonderful sunflowers. Each of these displays were done by the staff, and they would do it in a way that was not only artistic, but very eye-catching. And it was said that many things were put out in the morning and had to be replenished before the store closed in the evening. These wonderful things included even this, wonderful nutcrackers. And according to German folklore, nutcrackers bring good luck to the family and protect the home. It is said that they represent strength and power, and they watch over the family, keeping evil spirits away. In that way, on the left-hand side, it shows varieties that number in the dozens. And they were something, again, that could actually be got at the Christmas tree shops. Well, this button was distributed to customers by the Christmas tree shops and boldly proclaims the new slogan, "Don't you just love a bargain?" This catchy slogan was used in newspaper flyers as well as a jingle on television commercials. Customer Estelle Zimmerman remembers that when she first saw these television commercials, she said, "I saw way too many things that I wanted. I would definitely come out of the store broke, even though the purchases were at bargain prices." And in the mid-1990s, Christmas tree shops introduced a series of commercials. in which the chain's customers were recorded showcasing items they purchased, paired with the soon-to-be famous jingle, "Don't You Just Love a Bargain?" And the jingle still resonates with many of us. In ways, we look at it not only in this beautiful piece that was in Nashua, New Hampshire, but when Chuck and Doreen started the Christmas tree shops in 1970, they could never have imagined that the company would grow to 23 stores by 2003. Their hard work, strong drive, mutual support, and business acumen were vital in the company's success. But they also realized that their employees were an important part of the continued growth of the company. The adage, "What will you find?" was apt, as shoppers would without fail find items that they never thought they needed before stepping through the door, but could not leave without. Many people realize that some of these stores, and I don't go into all 23, were really quite unique. This was the first Hyannis store, and you might know it on Camp Street. The building was built to resemble a railroad station of the late 19th century, and it fit perfectly. But you might remember this store is adjacent to the railroad tracks. So in that way, seen here, Jeffrey and Gregory Bilazikian, sons of the owners, pose on car 2639 wearing their railroad conductor hats. In November of 1969, Chuck bought 4 railroad cars formerly owned by the New Haven line, which had declared bankruptcy. And during this time, he insisted that he and his son should ride the train from Middleborough to Hyannis, where he placed them on his property. This became the backbone of the new Christmas tree shop's location, part of Christmas Crossing, which opened in 1977. In that way, it was a cachet, and we saw these railroad cars being rented out to subgroups. There was also the Falmouth store. It was 23 miles from Yarmouthport. And in this instance, it was something that opened an entirely new market. Beautiful building, but it also had remnants of the enchanted village of St. Nicholas that actually decorated the left-hand side of the store. And of course, the Orleans store at the junction of Route 28 and 6A. This was the site of the first Howard Johnson's restaurant franchise in 1935. But here, in a rendition of a sea captain's house in Orleans, it also had a distinctive architectural feel. And of course, the Holyoke store that was in the Holyoke Mall, it had a balloon on the right-hand side that would ascend every 15 minutes. Not necessary, but it was something that was a great attraction. And with these wall murals, it was something that made the Christmas tree shop special and unique. Each shop seemed to be something that many people realized were unique. And here on Route 1 going north at what was originally the Ship Restaurant, the Christmas tree shops would build on this piece, which actually had the Leaning Tower of Pisa north of Boston. It's a great example in some ways that each of these stores had parking as well as distinctive characteristics. And of course, my favorite, the Sagamore Bridge. And when I constantly go up to our place in Boston, I look at this and I realize in some ways it is truly an icon of Cape Cod. Not only did the windmill blade really turn, but it was something that had a real thatched roof. Unique, distinctive, and characteristic of the Christmas tree shops. It said that the Sagamore Christmas tree shop, according to the Cape Cod Times, had the largest thatched roof in the world. Plymouth Plantation had referred Chuck and Doreen to Irish thatchers and the source of the thatch. Thatching is a craft of weaving a roof with such things as straw, water reeds, rushes, or heather, and then layering it to shed water away from the inner roof. Known as the world's first traveling thatchers, Michael, William, and A.J. Cahill were from the village of Clare-Galway, Ireland. They thatched the 24,000 square foot roof that is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest thatched roof in the world. But it was not just local attention that this new store was getting, as the Washington Post published a commentary that said, This unique retail establishment boasts Disney-esque architecture of a humongous artificial thatched roof and windmill. It might have been Disney-esque, but it certainly was not artificial thatch. Well, the Sagamore store won a Billboard, Massachusetts Architecture Award, and it has combined designs of various buildings in the British Isles. It's something that's unique, but we realize that probably one of the most iconic is the new Hyannis store. Ed Mullen, who was a good friend and employee of the Christmas tree shop, said that they designed this Hyannis store. Chuck, Doreen, and I went to Disney World. We sat on Main Street for days, like little kids, studying the buildings and working up a Victorian look for Hyannis. And when the store was done, we returned to Orlando to receive a national award for the best exterior store design of 1999. It's not just the fact that it's a store that you can shop in. It was an attractive store that you approached during the day or in the evening. But this store also had, as you can see here, a four-sided clock that was manufactured by the E. Howard Clock Company. The company had been established in Boston in 1859 by Edward Howard and Charles Rice. It was one of the premier American manufacturers of luxury watches and clocks. And this four-sided clock was made between 1910 and 1920. But there was also a Verdun Company glockenspiel, which was installed below the clock and was a unique attraction that delighted people. It sported moving figures at different times of the day, and the glockenspiel played three cheers for the Red, White, and Blue, Old Man River, and Morning Has Broken, among other songs. And in this instance, it wasn't just a tower, but it was something that also had a carillon. And the carillon created music that greeted arriving shoppers as well as bidding farewell to shoppers bringing their loot to their cars. The carillon was composed of a large bell, 24 smaller bells ranging in 2 octaves, and the bell rings every hour on the hour and was cast with the 24 smaller bells in Holland. Well, this was something that was totally unnecessary, but it made the store unique. And people would realize in that instance, it not only told time, it rang on the hour, and the wonderful figures created a wonderful aspect. Well, each of these stores did attract people. And though this is actually a group of people waiting to enter the South Portland Christmas tree shops when it opened, with no publicity, by the way, was something that you would see not only on a typical Saturday, but it was something that many people realized was a major attraction. People loved to shop at the Christmas tree shops. One never knew what he or she would find. And in that instance, it was something in some ways that this logo of the Christmas tree shop with a red sleigh and a cut Christmas tree had become ingrained in our minds along with that jingle, "Don't you just love a bargain?" Well, many people realized in that instance that by the 30th anniversary, the couple, seen here on the left-hand side, Chuck and Doreen Bilazikian, arrive in a red sleigh with Ed Mullen. These Percheron horses pull this. Of course, it helped that there were wheels because there was no snow for the sleigh to be pulled as they are pulled into their party for the 30th anniversary. How many companies survive 30 years, but thrive and create a lasting impact on the economy of Cape Cod? They greeted hundreds of employees, and here with a cake, with each individual layer, with the logo, Doreen Bilazikian is cutting the cake. One can only imagine the sense of pride the Bilazikians had after 3 decades of nurturing and growing a small business into a multi-million-dollar company with thousands of employees. The Christmas tree shops were one of the largest employers on Cape Cod by the 1990s. In this way, we realize the employees were the backbone of the business. And seeing here a group of employees smile as they transform themselves into Christmas tree shop elves with Christmas stocking hats and holding a variety of stuffed elves available in the Christmas decoration aisle. These elves had a variety of faces and were just the right size to hold or put on the mantle, but the look at the legs of the elves above wearing the same red and white striped stockings, but larger than life in size. These employees many times were with the company for years. And on the right-hand side is a stick pin, a piece of carved ivory with the logo of the sleigh and the green tree that was given to employees on their 5th anniversary. This is an important thing to realize because these employees not only look happy and contented, but it was something that many people stayed for years. This is the Pembroke store. Employees pose for a group photograph after having collected a multitude of blue shopping carts from the parking lot. Obviously, it was a necessary chore, but they arranged the shopping carts in such a creative way with the company logo seen in the background. Many people realized even Santa Claus sometimes would come to help out, especially during the holiday seasons. And as you can see, many employees took it to heart. They might dress as Santa Claus or Mrs. Claus, as well as elves. And this was an important feature because it made people smile. It seemed in many ways, many of the people checking us out of the aisles would be people with a smile on their faces. And of course, it translated to us. And seen here, authorized Christmas tree shopper. This decal was designed by Doreen, but was never produced. It was only for fun. But it would have made shoppers feel important as authorized Christmas tree shoppers when they placed it on their automobile. Many people came to the Christmas tree shops on a regular basis, often with family and friends, or as a day out exploring the aisles of the store, never knowing what one might find. And of course, you began to see in some ways the shoppers went the gamut. They were seniors, adults, young adults, teenagers, and even children. And this couple probably has just arrived because their cart is totally empty. They actually have a smile as they actually probably smell the aroma of cinnamon, something I always smelled when I went into that aisle. But of course here, after a morning of shopping at the Sagamore Christmas tree shop, customers Judy Shanahan and Nancy Peters take a well-deserved break, enjoying a rest while sitting in the sun on a white garden bench priced at $99.99. Of course, the rest was good, but so wasn't the fact that here you realized that the shoppers leave the Christmas tree shop in Albany, New York, with bags of bargains during the holiday season. The woman on the right has a shopping bag that says, "'Tis the season to be jolly." An employee, Kathy Cameron, remembers that Chuck and Doreen put their trust in their employees. I work with so many creative display artists and problem solvers. We did beautiful displays with just a few fixtures. Chuck and Doreen brought us the most unique products and new trends. It was easy to highlight their finds. Unfortunately, by this period of 2023 and 24, there were difficulties. And this actually was on CBS News Boston, and it says Wall Street Journal. Christmas tree shops preparing to file for bankruptcy protection. How in heaven's name could a shop that had been so profitable, so attractive, and such a wonderful place that many people would go declare bankruptcy? It was something that mystified most Americans because now, after Bed Bath & Beyond had purchased it in 2003, had expanded to over 16 states. Well, in November 2020, Bed Bath & Beyond sold the Christmas tree shops to Handle Holdings, a private company founded in 2020 for an undisclosed amount. In November of 2023, the company quickly opened 19 themed stores across these states, and the stores remained open until 2022. However, there seemed to be a problem, as some stores were reported as to be underproducing and were not as profitable as they had once been. Reuters reported that the United States bankruptcy judge Thomas Horan had converted the company's bankruptcy to a Chapter 7 liquidation. Horan ordered a court-appointed trustee to oversee the process to ensure that employees were paid for hours worked during the recent going out of business sales. And during the hearing, a lawyer for the Christmas tree shop said store closing sales fell 14 million short of revenue predictions. In that instance, we realized a lament for the Christmas tree shops. And on August 12th of 2023, the Christmas tree shops were closed after massive liquidation sales. The Christmas tree shops were well-known bargain stores selling food, toys, household furnishings, and Christmas decorations in stores that often resembled cottages, mansions, and lighthouses. The closure of these once popular stores was incredulous. And as Gene Cooper of East Hampton poignantly said, every time you come, there's always a lot of people here, and everybody comes for the sales, cause they have great sales. But no, I'm sure it's going to be missed by a lot of people, me especially. It was the end of an era for the Christmas tree shops. The lines were incredible, and many people realized everything up to 50% off meant that everything had to be cleared. People could not believe not only that the stores were closing, but the fact that people realized that it was an end of an era. As one can see from this book, Chuck and Doreen Bilazikian were a strong team, and their marriage and work ethic were as strong as they were. Having taken a risk in 1970 to buy a failing business in Yarmouthport, to selling the company in 2003 to Bed Bath & Beyond, they showed not only how hard work, drive, and determination would ensure the success of a small business, but also that success was to be earned and not merely given. Working long days, unpacking boxes, stocking shelves, and arranging merchandise in the evening was hard work, but they persevered. They grew the small seasonal business into a thriving year-round business that became a destination on Cape Cod. And of course, we see the cover of the book and we say, yes, we did love a bargain and we love the Christmas tree shop books. I hope this book will chronicle in some ways, not only your memories, but ours. And this is something, an important feature to realize, that this was something that started on Cape Cod and would, for over 35 years, create the Bilazikians as not only the purveyors of wonderful bargains, but in this instance, a wonderful legacy and memory on Cape Cod. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Does anyone have any questions before I start a small interview? Oh, okay, one.
Who coined the phrase, don't you just love a bargain?
Who coined the phrase, don't you just love a bargain?
Well, I had hired an advertising company in New Orleans, and the fellow name was John Garwood. And so I worked with him and his team, and we had a focus group, and we came up with, don't you just love a bargain?
Any other questions? Well, we're gonna have a little bit of a question and answer, if you don't mind. One of the things is, Doreen Bilazikian was not only a mainstay in this book, we were on the email every single day for months on end. After a while, I said to myself, if I didn't have something on the email in the morning, I said, she must have slept in late. But one of the things is, and I'll stay here and you can actually work with me. You and Chuck brought the Christmas tree shop on Labor Day weekend in 1970, promising to pay the owner an initial $10,000 deposit when the banks opened the Tuesday after the holiday. What possessed you to buy this business?
Well, Chuck and I had actually been looking for a business to purchase. He wanted to be his own boss and run his own business. And we were on vacation in July 4th with friends of ours. And he knew retail. He had worked for Gilchrist Company and he worked for other retail companies. So he had the experience and the know-how. So this was just a natural fit for him particularly. For me, it was on-the-job training or because I was a social worker and I really didn't even know how to run a cash register. But I learned, and so it was very appealing for us, and so we decided to buy it.
Thank God you did. Within a year or two, the Christmas tree shops had a strong following and was the price and quality merchandise that attracted customers. When did you come to realize this company was going to be a success?
Well, it took us about 5 years, really, of hard work before we realized that it was going to be successful. It was, even though it was a retail business and Chuck was familiar with retail, it was still a different business for us to learn because it was a closeout business. And that was a small little group of people at that time who knew each other and they trusted each other, and if you had a deal, it was a handshake and a promise, and it was, everything went through. I mean, it was just the way we did business. So it was, I didn't answer your question.
Sure.
Um,
And of course, you knew it was going to be a success, but when did you realize it? 5 years on?
I think so. We were drawing like $200 a week to the farm. We lived over the store rather, and we finally moved out over the store and built a house within a mile of the main office, so that we could get back and forth.
Did you ever realize or try to imagine that the Christmas tree shops would ever have off-Cape stores?
No, at that time, he really wanted to have the best gift shop on Cape Cod. And we had no dreams of going over the bridge. So that's why we went to Falmouth and Orleans, and we stayed on the Cape.
And Pembroke was the first off store.
It was an old DSPN trading post. And that
Deerskin, my God.
yeah.
And the last one is the closing of the Christmas tree shops in 2023 was something that shocked people who knew the store well. In many ways, its bankruptcy was unavoidable because debt could not be refinanced. What were your thoughts when the news was announced?
Well, my difficulty was the sale of the business in 2003. And that was really very hard for me and for Chuck as well. So we, you know, for those of you who had a business and run it, you know, it's like a death of this child or whatever. It's a very hard thing to go through. So I went through it then, and I wasn't gonna go through it a second time.
Please join me in a round of applause.
So, this past year, as we worked on this book together, and I would like to give you something that I know you want. And, it's in the book too. It's a, oh, wow, it is a pin that is ivory that's handmade by this gal by the name of Marcy Patterfret. She lived in, Harwich. And this was our 5-year recognition pin. This was for the guys, and the other one was for the ladies.
Really?
And so this one.
Thank you.
The original
Oh my gosh,
from Marcy.
thank you so much. Thank you, that's very sweet. When I do these books and I learn so much about the Christmas tree shops, I realize in some ways that there are many things we remember, not just ourselves, but things our parents and grandparents told us. I've done books on Jordan Marsh, Baker's Chocolate, S.S. Pierce. Right now, I'm writing a book on Prince Macaroni. So I think sometimes each one of them are things that we remember. But I think the Christmas tree shop is something of people of a certain age. I think it's so sad to realize that in a year and a half ago, it actually closed. There'll be a time when people don't remember going to the Christmas tree shop. It's something that's not only a wonderful story, but it's a realization of hard work. Now, one of the things that we did tonight is we have a cake, and I'd like to help you cut it. This is a cake that has not only the logo of the Christmas tree shop, but it's something that I hope everyone here will enjoy and keep happy.